Hey folks, how's it going? This is Joe with Palmetto Land Buyers.com, and today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is selling land. So I'm going to be giving land sellers 4 tips that's going to help you sell your land as quickly as possible in South Carolina. Again, palmettolandbuyers.com. This is a South Carolina specific podcast. A lot of what I talk about might be relevant in your state or in your county, but everything I talk about for sure is going to be South Carolina specific. I buy land all over the state. I deal with all the counties, and I know all the different processes involved in buying land. So, if you're in South Carolina and you're listening to this, just know that the stuff that I'm talking about will apply to the state. Okay. So, 4 steps that you should take when you're thinking about selling land here in South Carolina. Okay. So, the very first thing is you need to know what your land is good for. Now, if you've got land, not all land's the same. Okay. You might have land that is out in the country, you might have land in the city. Land in the country usually comes without restriction, whereas land within city limits, regardless of the city, regardless whether you're in Chester or you're in Spartanburg or you're in Columbia, or you're in Greenville, whether you're in Latson, it doesn't matter. If your land is within city limits, I'm going to say 9.999% out of 10 times is going to be coming with a set of restrictions upon it. So, what does that mean? So, land that's restricted upon means that you can't build certain things on that land. Okay, it might be zone residential housing, and all you can do is build a stick built house on it. Whereas if you've got land in the country and it's zoned for agriculture, or even if it's zoned residential, a lot of the times out in the country, they'll let you put a mobile home on your land. You can put a farm there. You can have wildlife there. So you gotta do the research, understand the zoning. Okay, and you can go to various sites online that are county specific. So go to like Spartanburg County zoning and planning, or go to Richland County zoning and planning. So figure out what county does the land reside in. Go to the planning and zoning, look up the zoning for that particular part, for that particular parcel, and then figure out what can I build on this lot. Is it commercial? Is it residential? If it's residential, what can or can I not build on this lot? Because depending on the county, depending on which city it is within that county, there's going to be different restrictions on your property. So you need to know what it's good for. Okay. Once you figure out the zoning, to say it's residential and you can put a mobile home on it, you got to understand, or you got to figure out whether or not the land has utilities and who provides the utilities. Some counties have utilities throughout the entire county. And so if you build a house, you can just connect to the city water, city sewer, and that's no problem. But if you're out in the country, in this agriculture or this rural area, there may not be any utilities in place. And so it's on you as the seller or the buyer to put the utilities. What does that mean? That means you got to put a well system. That means you're going to have to put in a septic system, and all those are additional costs. Okay, well systems for 100 foot for a shallow well, let's say 100 feet, you're talking about $1,500, $2,000. For a septic system, you're talking $4,000 or $5,000, and the price goes up depending on how many kitchens, how many bathrooms your house has. More kitchens, more bathrooms, bigger system, bigger costs. Another thing about septic is that even though you have land and it's vacant, it's empty, it's rural, you might be thinking, well, what's the problem? I'll just hire a septic, I'll put a septic system in here. It's not a big deal. It is. So in South Carolina, you need to apply for a permit. A builder, a septic system company won't even come out if you don't have a permit. You need to apply for a permit with DHEC before anybody comes out and breaks ground. And DHEC needs to approve your land for a septic system. So they'll go out there, they'll take measurements of the soil, they'll figure out whether or not your land is suitable for a septic system. So worst case scenario is you've got land, and let's say you have these intentions of building on it, or a buyer's reaching out to you asking you these questions. Will it perk, short for percolate? Can I put a septic on it? If you don't have the answers to that, a buyer is going to be less willing to purchase that property because there is this risk that the land will not percolate, that DHEC will not approve the site for a sewer system, and that really diminishes the value of a property by a lot. Because think about it, if you've got a lot, and as a buyer, I want to build a house here, but now DHEC went out, they said, hey, this soil, this land is not suitable for a septic system. You're really not left with a lot of issues. I mean, I'm sorry, you're not left with a lot of options. Your only course, so if you've got land and it does not perk, meaning that a traditional septic system will not work, you're going to have to hire an engineer. You're going to have to get a custom system built. These custom systems cost more to install, they cost more to maintain, and a lot of times it's not worth the effort when you can just go out there and find a different piece of land. So you need to know what your land is good for, because if you can't build on that land, then now it simply becomes recreational land. And think about it, if you only have half an acre or an acre, that's not big enough for it to be recreational. So you need to understand, hey, what is my land good for? Is it a residential lot? Is it a commercial lot? Does it have county utilities? What is it zoned for? Can this land sustain a septic system? Meaning, will DHEC approve a septic system on this land? You need to figure all that out beforehand. All right, number two, skip the agent and sell directly to land buyers here in South Carolina. Now, look, I am a land buyer myself, so I am biased. But trust me, and if you've ever tried to sell land in the past, or maybe you're selling it now, it's listed now, you know it's hard. It's not easy to sell land. Land does not sell like houses. You're not going to sell land in 2 weeks, in 30 days. And if you do, or if you want to, you need to price it super competitive. There are not a lot of land buyers out there, especially when you're talking about regular retail land buyers. Nobody's out there buying land, really. Everyone's trying to buy a house. Okay? So you might have a real estate agent list your land. Just understand going into it that this might stay on the market for an extended period of time. Now, why sell to land buyers? Why to sell to somebody like me? Look, if you sell to me, let's say you need money in 24 hours. Well, I can do that. A traditional buyer isn't going to be able to do that. They won't have those capabilities. They're not going to be knowledgeable enough in the market. They're not going to understand the processes of buying and selling real estate enough to be able to facilitate a transaction that quickly. There's just too much uncertainty. They're uncertain about the process. They're uncertain about who actually owns this land. Whereas I have someone like me, a land buyer, we have the systems in place to figure all this information out, right? To gather all this information so that we can close quickly. All right. That is a good way, if you're interested in money fast, to reach out to a land buyer like myself in order to do that. That is a good option for you. Okay. Tip 3, take good pictures of your land. And this is critical. especially if you have a wooded lot. You can step onto the land and imagine just being in the middle of your land taking pictures with a camera. If it's a wooded lot, I mean, there's not a lot going on in there. There's not a lot of information, right? So these pictures are they've got this rich amount of information in a picture. And so when you're just taking it from the middle of a lot and you're just taking pictures of trees, well, as people, we can't really discern the differences between trees. You could be taking, 100 pictures of the same area and it kind of always looks different, or it all always looks the same. Okay, so you need to get creative with your pictures when you're taking those of land. If you have a drone, fly a drone up, take aerial pictures of the lot vertical from the top straight down. Okay, take it from angles. I would suggest at least 4 different angles, one from the north, south, east, and west. If you have a drone, take a circular video of your lot, upload it to YouTube, link to it on Facebook Marketplace, or link to it on Zillow or wherever you're selling your property, okay? Include that video. Take pictures above on a drone, fly it up, but instead of the land, kind of the adjacent lots, okay? This is all public information. You're allowed to do this, okay? You're allowed to take pictures of your neighbor's property. So just take pictures of, hey, it's going to give folks an idea of, okay, I see a lake. Okay, so that means there's a lake nearby. I see a lot of farmland. Oh, I see a lot of nice looking houses, right? So it gives folks an idea of what the neighborhood, of what the area looks like. So that's another thing you want to do. And honestly, that's a good best practice, even for houses. Fly up a drone, take a picture of the neighborhood, fly it around the neighborhood. Okay. You're also going to want to take pictures, using your iPhone, set it to like widescreen or a wide lens setting, which I know the new phones have that now, and take a picture of the street, you know, of in front of the property, what the street looks like going down one way and then the other way. Is it a paved street? Is it a dirt road? Okay, so you want to take these photographs for folks so they get a good sense of, here's what this property actually looks like, okay? And then number 4, if you're very motivated, let's say you're motivated, you don't necessarily need to, let's say you're motivated. You're a motivated seller, you want to sell fast, but you don't want to sell at a deep discount, right? Because if you're looking for money tomorrow, you're gonna have to be willing to sell it for a lot less. But let's say you want to sell fast, but you also don't want to discount the property excessively. Then here's number 4, and a lot of folks don't ever think about this, but this is a really this is a very this is a very underrated strategy, and that's, consider accepting seller financing. And seller financing is straightforward. You can call it seller financing, you can call it a land contract, a good way of thinking about it is, you're the bank in the transaction and you're giving someone a mortgage, and a mortgage is simply a promissory note. It's a promise that somebody's going to be paying a debt to you, and if they don't pay that debt, well, then you keep the deed, right? You take the property back, you foreclose, you take the property back, and it becomes yours, and all the money that they've paid towards that land, it's forfeited. Okay, and folks don't think about seller financing, but it is an underappreciated strategy, and it's very, very straightforward. You simply put your land up for sale. You ask for 3 things, and here's how I would do it, especially if you're putting this on Zillow or if you're putting it on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to want to establish the purchase price. You're going to want to establish a down payment, a monthly payment, And then here's the fourth is optional, but you can charge an interest rate, 5, 10, 15%. And there's software out there right now available online that will allow you to determine, well, what is what would a pay schedule look like at this interest rate. If your first payment is in December 1st of 2022, based off of all these factors, the full price, the monthly payments, the interest rate, your last payment will be, and it will do all the calculations for you. So seller financing is a good way to, you can capture some money up front. So if you've got land, let's say you say you got 5 acres and you're going to sell it for 10 grand, you can say, look, give me $3,000 up front, and then pay me $300 a month for X amount of months. And now you've got that nice injection of capital up front. You got that down payment, those $3,000, but now every single month you're also going to be collecting a few $100s, several $100. And let's say 10 months down the road, this person, right? We don't want it to happen, but this person decides to leave the country or decides, hey, I no longer want this property. Well, you know what? It returns back to you. You still keep that property. You keep the down payment. You keep the monthly payments. Ideally, when you do a seller financing deal, you'd want the person to pay every single month because there are some costs with recovering that property, but the costs aren't so excessive that if you've collected a down payment and monthly payments, you'd still come ahead. All right, so there are 4 tips on selling land here in South Carolina. Okay, so again, and I'm going to go ahead and review these again. All right, the first one, know what your land is good for, know the zoning, know the capability, know whether or not you can have a septic system on this land. Skip the agent, save yourself a commission, save yourself several $1,000s, and sell directly to land buyers. It's going to make it easy, especially if you don't sell land regularly. A land buyer is going to know the process. And you might say, well, look, I don't want to be taken advantage of. You don't have to. Think about the number beforehand. Okay? Do your research. I've got other podcasts, I've got other blog posts here at palmettolandbuyers.com that will help you determine market value. Determine market value for yourself. Okay, let's say it's $10,000, and you say, "Look, I'm looking for a quick sale. I'm willing to sell it at $7,500, and I'm firm on that." Then offer it up for $8,000, and know to negotiate a $500 down. Everybody's going to look to negotiate. Everybody wants to get a little bit off of it, so always list it for a little bit more. Okay, and if somebody comes at you with asking price, then fantastic, you got more than what you wanted, but you want to give some room in case somebody wants to haggle and somebody wants to negotiate down a little bit. But do the research beforehand, okay? And be stern. Say, hey, I want to close in a week. I'm going to give you a discount. I want to close in 3 days, no questions asked, okay? And force that land buyer to abide by those rules. Remember, you have a lot of power in this situation. The land is still yours. Okay, you're looking for a buyer. A land buyer might be a suitable buyer for you. All right. Number 3, take those pictures. Take good pictures. Okay, you don't want to take pictures of a up close of trees because there's not going to be a lot of information being communicated there in that photo. You're going to want to fly a drone, borrow a drone, fly a drone, hire somebody to take pictures for you. They usually cost 50, $75 nowadays. Everybody has a drone. You might own a drone, or you might know a neighbor that owns a drone, and just fly that thing up there and take pictures. Get some distance on there. Take pictures of the land again from north, south, east, west. Take a picture of the general area. That's going to be very, very good, and take pictures of the street so folks understand. Hey, is there an easement here? Is it wooded? Is there clear easement? Is it cleared? Is it a dirt road? Is it a paved road? Right? All these things are important. People want to access the property. And then finally, consider accepting seller financing. Play the role of the bank. Be in control of the property. Put it out there on a mortgage and collect a down payment, collect monthly payments. Okay. And once the balance is paid in full, then you can deed the property over to that person, or you can file a satisfaction, a mortgage. And I've have again on this topic as well. I've got other podcasts, I got other blog posts that walk you through the process of a land contract. I actually share the land contract that I use, and we go through it clause by clause, so you understand what you're agreeing to, what you're committing to, and you can use my copy. Again, I'm not an attorney. My real estate contract, it's worked for me. I don't know that it'll necessarily work for you, but you're welcome to it. I love to share. Folks, I hope you found these 4 tips beneficial. I hope it helps you pursue and accomplish your goals in selling your land. If you're interested in receiving an offer from me, you can reach out www.palmettolandbuyers.com. You can always go there, fill out our form. You can call me personally, Joe Ortiz. My number is 803-201-9137. We are, okay, the premier land buyers in South Carolina. We do this every single day. We would love to work with you. We'd love to go out and take a look at your land. Worst case scenario, you learn something about your land that you didn't know before, because we've got resources. We do research. And so reach out to us. We'll do some due diligence. We'll figure it out and we'll move forward. And I hope to do business with you. Thank you and take care.